cannot defeat an idea by locking up its proponents. That is not changed because of some alleged differences in the world's great civilizations. Indeed, some of the most important lessons about democracy, self-determination, and civil disobedience have been taught by Asians, from Mahatma Gandhi to Kim Dae-jung. Nor does it seem to me to speak to the long-term sustainable health and vitality of a community if its leaders cannot deal with dissent without trying to choke it off. You can censor the expression of free thought through curbing speeches on the internet, jailing journalists, or even trying to stamp out jokes. Under no circumstances allow yourself to mention any of the characters in Winnie the Pooh in Beijing, especially if you are holding a yellow umbrella. Nor, however mighty you may be, can you prevent people from thinking. Moreover, sooner or later the good things they think drive out the bad things that authoritarians seek to impose. The reason why the world beyond Hong Kong has viewed with admiration the courage, determination, and eloquence of Joshua Wong and his colleagues is that what they seek is, on the whole, so reasonable and so obviously an effort to working with the grain of human aspiration as it was, is, and will remain. Casuistical suggestions that the only way to deal with Joshua and his friends is to resort to the rule of law come ill from those who kept quiet and looked the other way when men were abducted from Hong Kong by the secret police of the Chinese Communist Party, with no care for the autonomy and law of Hong Kong. Perhaps what others saw never really happened. Joshua and his colleagues know that I have never supported those who want to campaign for accountability, democracy, freedom of speech and assembly, autonomous universities, and a vigorous and untrammeled civil society to be turned into pressure to achieve Hong Kong's independence. That is a dangerous blind alley. But reasonable people should ask themselves how and why this has happened. How has the growing activity of China's United Front in Hong Kong, the attempt to throttle the promised autonomy of the community, increased the patriotism of a whole generation? Of course, the very reverse of what was intended has resulted. What all that has done is not to make people feel less Chinese, but more proud of being Hong Kong Chinese. It's odd that the Chinese Communist Party has achieved something which the British colonial government never managed. A short while ago, I had two encounters which worried me. The first was with a young Hong Kong woman in tears, who asked me what could be done to prevent the erosion of freedom in the city she loved. The second was the remark of a senior banker who had worked in Hong Kong for years that, for the first time, he was starting to worry about Hong Kong's future. I think that in many ways, Joshua Wong and his friends are a sort of answer to both these worried lovers of Hong Kong. So long as their spirit is not snuffed out, and it won't be, I am sure that Hong Kong will survive as a symbol of the potential of humanity to create great things out of little. And I hope in the meantime that the world will watch closely to see how far China can be trusted to keep her word. Speaking for myself and for most others, I trust Joshua of Hong Kong far more than the communist apparatchiks of Beijing or their apologists in the city and elsewhere. Chris Patten, last Governor of Hong Kong, May 2018. Prologue. In August 2017, as the baking sun bore down on the streets of Hong Kong and university students were finishing up their summer jobs or returning from family trips, I was sentenced to 6 months in prison for my role in the umbrella movement that sent shockwaves through the world and changed Hong Kong's history. I was immediately taken to Pik Uk Correctional Institution, a short walk from the school I used to attend. I was 20 years old. The Department of Justice had won their appeal to increase my sentence from 80 hours of community service to a prison term, the first time anyone in Hong Kong was sentenced to jail for the charge of unlawful assembly. In doing so, the appeal had also made me one of the city's first political prisoners. I had planned to keep a journal while I was in prison, both to make the time go by faster and to record the many conversations and events I was privy to within the prison walls. I thought that perhaps one day I would turn those notes into a book. And here it is. This book comprises of 3 acts. The first chronicles my coming of age, from a 14-year-old student campaign organizer to the founder of a political party and the face of a resistance movement against the ever-reaching long arm of communist China in Hong Kong and beyond. It is a genesis story that lays bare a tumultuous decade.